Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to work on a customer's reel that came into the shop. It's a Penn Defiance 40 LW. It's a level wind reel. And customer's complaining about two things. One, that there's a skip in this, and I've noticed it. It's hard to see on the video. And the second thing is that this level wind feature is failing. And there's a lot of play in this worm gear. So I'm thinking that the problems are related, and I'm thinking that the issue might be in the bushings that are on the worm gear. So I've gone ahead and I've ordered the bushings, and we're going to take this reel apart, see why it's skipping, and see what's going on with the level wind. And as you can notice right now, the level wind feature is not working. So I think that they might be interrelated. They could be separate, but let's go ahead and take this apart, see what's causing the issue, and see if we can't repair that over the course of this video. I'll show you the tips for servicing this reel as we do that. And we're going to start by removing the handle and getting to the gear side plate. To do that, you take the set screw off that holds the little nut cap type thing on the reel. Then we're going to go ahead and take the side plate nut off. That's holding it on. It's a 12 millimeter nut. And then we're going to remove the handle. Now, the customer told me he bought this at a flea market. And one of the things you look at on the flea market sometimes is that you get a superficial cleaning of a reel, but that some of the telltale stuff of how the reel has been used is kind of hidden here, where you can't get to the cleaning. So when I took that cap off, I'm noticing there's a lot of salt encrusted kind of residue on this handle, which means it's been out in the ocean and used quite a bit. I'm also noticing behind the free spool lever here, there's a lot of salt in here and on here as well, so they didn't take that off when they cleaned. So they probably did a good scrubbing of the case, but where they couldn't reach or whatever sitting there. So if you're doing flea market finds, just pay attention to that. Look a little bit beyond just the superficial, see if you can't see a little bit more evidence of the type of usage here. Same thing on this, on the star drag, there's an accumulation of salt there as well. So it concerns me a little bit that the level wind feature would break like that. Most of the time that the level wind feature breaks on a reel, it's usually the pawl, and that's usually because somebody got some line stuck there. But in this case, the pawl seems to work intermittently, so we'll see. I have replacement pawls if needed. So I've taken off the front side of this reel. There's 4 pressure washers here. They're concave washers. They adjust the sensitivity of the drag nut. And when you take them off, you should notice how they work. These are washers that can be set side by side, face to face, and they produce different tensions. In this case, these are set face to face on both sides and then opposing in the middle. So the 4 washers have a different spacing to them. Take notes of that when you take it off, because that's the way that they should go back on. Also, if you're not used to working on reels like this, take pictures along the way and go get the schematic off of the website. This is a Penn reel, so you can find the schematics at pennparts.com. Simply follow the menus for Penn conventional reels, and under Defiance, and in this case it's the 40W. Now, we did a video a while ago on the 25W giving a review of that. It's a nice reel. It's a mid-size reel. It's competing out there with like the Okuma Convector series. It's competing with the old Shakespeare Tidewater series. This is not a direct replacement of the Penn 209 or 309. It has a different setup from a gearing standpoint, and we'll show you that when we get inside, and I guess we're 1 screw away from getting inside here. So you remove the side plate screws on this, and that's going to free it up. Now, this is going to pop because there's tension screws under here on the free spool release, so you got to be aware of that. And then you got to be careful when you take it off that you don't lose the pieces and parts. So in the back, it's very simple. We have the free spool release and the spool bearing And nothing more on the side plate, which is different than the way you would see it if you took off a 309. In the inside, it's pretty simple. Again, it reminds me very much of a Shakespeare Tidewater. And I'm looking at this right away and I see the problem on the skip. So the problem on the skip is right here. There's a broken piece in this reel, and it's right here, and it's also interrelated because that is the tab, if I can get this off, that is the tab that belongs here on the bushing. So what's happening is, because that tab is not there, this is coming in and out, on creating the excessive side plate, and when it comes out, it's not grabbing. So I had ordered a replacement for this. We have a new one, and that appears to be what's going to need to be done in order to correct this issue. So let's go ahead and do that. In order to do that, we have to pull the E-clip off of this. I use a little pin to do that, and I keep my fingers nearby because if these parts shoot, they become a problem. So let's go ahead and pull that out. This is the E-clip I'm referring to, and I simply slipped the pin into the groove here and was able to pull that out. Now we have the broken part of the bushing here that we want to pull out. We should be able to get that with the pin as well. Or not. I'm going to back this off so that I can push it out from behind. I'm going to pull these two springs off here too as well, because they tend to get loose and shoot. Just trying to find a small screwdriver or something to pry that out with. Well, and now I got to go do it the other way. I got to come in from the back side. So sometimes they work easy, sometimes they don't. In this case, I'm going to go out to do an extra step here. But the Penn Defiance is a nice reel. It's got a high-speed retrieve. It's going to help you with moderate to large size fish. It's an ocean reel. It's got the level line feature. It's one that you can use in Great Lakes or inshore ocean. In this case, they got some pretty heavy line on this. There's probably 35 or 40 pound monofilament test on this. I believe that this is also braid ready if you want to go with the braid spooling as well. So, okay, so we pulled that. Now we're going to pull the side plate off here. We're going to pull the C-clip from this. We're going to take the entire worm out here and work backwards on this one. I thought we were going to be able to get away easy. We didn't, but that's okay. Okay, now we should be able to pull this assembly out. There we go. And here's the bearing. That's the bushing that's broken on this. I didn't need to pull that clip, as it turns out. We're going to go ahead and set the new one in. And that comes in from the back, and it sits in that tab, and the tab is what broke off too. So that sits like this. We can go ahead and reinstall this. And there's a little tab on the bottom of this to make sure it seats properly. Alright, we're seated there. Now we can come back in and put that C-clip on, E-clip. And this is why I use this parts bucket, because you can always find the piece when you go to reinstall. And especially since there's so many small pieces and parts in a fishing reel. It just, I've learned from my mistakes, and that's why I encourage folks to go ahead and use these things going forward, because they learn from experience. Okay, now I pulled that other clip that didn't need to be pulled here, so I'm going to go ahead and reset that. That's the E-clip on the other side, should you need to remove the metal gear that drives the level wind feature off of the spool. Okay, so we've just reset that. Just going to check on the back to make sure that this is working. The bearing is okay. The plastic wheel that drives that is okay. We'll put a little bit of blue grease on that just because we have the reel open at this point. And then we'll go close this up. Probably off camera there, I apologize for that. A little bit of oil on the bearing. Okay, then we can seal this back up. Sometimes you need to rotate the spool gear to get it aligned properly. You want to mesh the teeth in this with the metal gear that we have here. So, okay, there we go. We're set now. We're going to go back, put those screws in. Oops. Trim plate goes on, and screws go in. Now there are two separate size screws here as well. There's a shorter screw for the side plate, so you want to make sure you have the right ones. And you want to make sure that that gets buttoned up properly. So what's happened here is that we've had a reel that's been used more than maybe it was thought of when you came in and you bought a flea market reel. It had a cracked piece in there. It had the broken bushing from the worm gear. We pulled the piece out, so that should stop the skip, because the skip was happening when that plastic piece either rubbed up or interfered with the gear or the free spool release or something, causing the reel to malfunction. So we took that piece out. We replaced that bushing. The bushing pieces and parts were available at pennparts.com. I would recommend everybody or anybody who needs to work on a Penn reel, go there. At a minimum, get the schematic for the reel so that you see what you're working with. And as you do your opening up of the reel and you figure out that there's a part that's broken, you can refer to that schematic as the way to order the part. So it's very easy. They're a great staff over there. It sounds like I'm doing an ad for them, but they're a great staff over there. They will assist you if you're having trouble and you can't figure it out yourself. Okay, in this case the free spool release fell out, but that's all right. It just slips under. All right, and then we're going to grab those two springs and we're going to put them back on top. And then we're going to put the side plate back on. Put a little bit of oil back there on that spool again. Also put a little bit of oil on it. It's a sealed bearing, but it doesn't hurt to have the oil on it. I'm going to go close this up now. You want to make sure, we're going to have to sync this up with the opening in that free spool release. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of tripping that lever. There you go. Now you want to make sure that it trips. And we're good there. Next up, we're going to put those 4 side plate screws in. 5 side plate screws in. And again, if you are unfamiliar with this reel, I encourage you to take pictures along the way as you've taken this reel apart. And that way, if you wind up with extra pieces in your parts bucket, or if you seem to be out of sequence, or you forgot a step along the way, or how you took a particular thing out because you thought you would remember, then just go back and refer to the pictures, and it'll pretty much tell you, where and how and when you took those things out. Now that may seem trivial. Maybe it works like I did here, where it's fresh in your mind, but if I had not gone ahead and ordered parts ahead of time, thinking from experience what it was, that you may open up the reel, put everything into a parts bucket, find out you need the bushing, go order it, have it take a few days to get here, and by the time they get here and you go to reassemble a reel, you've forgotten along the way what steps you've taken. So always a good precaution. Take the pictures, use your cell phone camera, use a digital camera. If If you want, do a video like I'm doing here, whatever the reference points are that you have, so that you know how it came apart and how to put it back together. I learned a life lesson early in life on one of these. I had one completely apart. It was a basket case. I didn't remember how things went back. Took it to somebody, and first thing he said to me is, you know, "Oh, you break the eggs and I'm going to fry them for you." So, yeah, kind of cute. All right, so then those 4 washers go on, and you remember the sequence, face to face and then back to back. That's why you want to pay attention to that. We're going to go put this back on. And we're basically down to the stop washer handle. I guess if I didn't know this was going to work, I guess I could have tested it before I go crazy and put everything back on. I'm confident it's going to work. And if not, I was told early on that you need a couple of things in order to do real repair. One of them is patience, the other is a good sense of humor. And I've used both a lot as I've done these things over time. Okay, so we've just tightened that up. We can go put that lock cap on now. Looks like we need another half a twist there. You have to align this nut cap with the screw hole, and we're getting close, but I gotta back it off a little bit. Okay, there you go, that should work this time. Very good. And then we're going to just put that set screw in here, and we've got the reel back to the way it was when we started this exercise. So what have we learned? We learned that it's basically a decent reel here. This one's been used. We learned that when you go to a flea market, look for some of the signs that maybe are not totally apparent if somebody's just cleaned it on the surface. Look, you know, in this case, behind that free spool release, look at the chrome loss on it, understand the damage, kind of get an assessment there, and work with it as best you can to... Okay, there we go. So we've taken the play out of that worm, and we're driving, and we're back doing it the way we should. So there you go. So that's kind of what's happened with this reel. It's been a broken part that's caused the skip, and that part's been replaced, and it's been a simple exercise to put this one back the way it should. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you do, please like it. If you want to see more, please subscribe to my channel, and thank you for viewing. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.